would you mind doing roll call?
Okay. Tom Keeler is excused. Wes Miller,
Here.
John DePady, Kurt Dudley,
Here.
Ben Mathis,
Here.
Jean Peglow,
Here.
Steve Harling,
Here.
Gary Palmer.
Good, thank you. You all had a chance to look at the minutes. Are there any points to discuss on that?
I move we approve the minutes as written.
Jean approves the minutes. Can I have a second? Okay. All in favor? Yes. Thank you. Minutes stand as they're written. Okay, we'll move right in to new business. Joe Quill has a modification to his special use permit, and he's asking to erect a lean-to on the southeast side of the building. Okay, that's, yeah, we don't have a mic on the board. It's a formality. Thank you. And the purpose of the lean-to? Okay, so like a tow motor or a tow truck and like that. Okay, dry like gravel base.
Yep.
You're gonna put a wall on one side? The east side. Okay. Ever a future in putting walling the whole thing in? Nothing in the near future anyway. Okay. Jared, do you have something on this that you'd like to add to it? Okay. Got it. Yeah, thank you. Yep. I was looking through the previous application, the SUPs that you had, and different things. I think, is there any questions from the board about the application? No? So on the, I just want to read through these really quick.
I just got a question.
Okay.
It's in the business district.
Yeah.
And it's allowed use.
I was just wondering.
I come back to that. Especially. Special. Like he's asking for exception. It's in the district. Not changing its business venue. It meets.
Is it because it's a motored vehicle?
I don't know. That was my question.
Yeah.
Because I find like.
I
Just
think
from a common sense standpoint, from my common sense, I'm saying I might be all wrong on it.
I was asking the same thing
Okay.
just before the meeting, and I haven't had a chance to look it up, but we can review that after the meeting, and if it does, we can
Well,
revisit
a lot of
this.
like
But get him up and moving tonight.
get them up
on
and
this-
moving, I'm
right.
saying it's maybe, which I'm not sure. Rationale.
Right. Okay. Jared, does that make sense to you? We'll
Yeah.
just.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. That's all. That's
And I'm not sure the timing on that, the business district either. If you had the application in before,
that's always been the business system. Though. The modification we included that. That was in the
the
original.
modification included it,
No, I think our original one always had the hamlet of
was it?
because he's in the hamlet. Yes,
Yeah.
that was my. We did a modification. We went went down Maple Street.
Yep.
To where the,
Yep, and extended it up to Route Road.
and then we went to Road, and then we went down and we went west, so that Watson would have to go through
Right.
all that, all the way to Eagle River.
Right,
That was my understanding.
okay,
But where Mr. Quill's shop is, that's always, well, I mean, not always. I mean, since I've been on the planning board and he's come here, to apply, it was always in the business district. That's all.
You have to go look at the history. There was some reason for
I,
making it special use. And they don't,
I suspect there was, but I don't know what that is, and I don't see it in here.
there's the other auto place to the north had to get a special use permit also.
Right.
It was right on 98.
But he was not in that, he ended in Hampton.
Business district. Extends 500 feet. Either side all the way up 98,
Yeah.
31A.
He really went along with me, so
I don't know. Don't remember what the reason was.
But I mean, that's something we can, it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
For them, so,
oh, for everyone,
Let's,
our zoning office.
yeah.
It's just one of those.
Had to be a reason. I just don't remember what it was.
I don't see any reason not to move forward with this tonight. That being said, is there a motion that we can have to,
Oh, I say, I make a motion that we approve it. Application.
second that? Steve. Got that? Ben, yes. Okay. It's as simple as that.
Once I repair my mess.
Okay.
Last month.
I don't think so.
I'll be better than.
No, not fixing what's already there. You're not moving it or anything like that. You're just putting new in for what is already there. Yep. I think,
As it stands right now, no, number one, and I agree, we don't need to see it, because, but there was some things in that other fee schedule that I was surprised about, that we didn't adopt, came from other areas, like removing, replacing.
true.
I'm just saying that, I'm not, I don't know, I'm just might be, I know, it's been asking him to check this. As it stands right now, we don't have any that expensive.
Right.
But I remember seeing in the
It might
schedule,
come
it
up.
was in all encompassing states, questions on. I'm saying it can't come full circle again.
In the next application.
Wasn't anything we did.
No, it wasn't. We didn't close it. I just.
And then just, I would say, as long as you maintain the, yes, yeah, yes, right, yep. Okay. And the other, parts of that application to the conditions of your previous applications, as long as you maintain those, right? Okay. And we had a first and a second. Can I have an approval? Aye. Opposed or? Okay, that's it. Very good. Is there? He did
What,
this.
vote?
Yeah. Okay. Let me do that right. I'm gonna do that right now. He's good to go. We'll just finish off the seeker and.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Thank you. Jim. I did see that. He did that. Is that? Okay.
Rick says he's not hearing anything, he's on the phone.
Music's still playing.
Yeah. Because he called me. I'm in a meeting, I can't talk right now. You go nuts.
All right, finish off the second part of the seeker here. And again, as normal, I don't hear anything. It's a no. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with adapted land use plan or zoning or regulations? Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit? Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? And if it fails to incorporate reasonable and available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities, will the proposed action impact existing public and private water, public and private sewer? Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources? Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No, can I have a motion to declare a negatives?
I-
Seeker?
That we declare a negative seeker.
Can I have a second?
No second.
John, second. All in favor? Aye. Close that as a negative seeker. Thank you. Okay, up next is old business. And we can open it up with the land use separation. Land separation.
June. June and now you on get comments. I only made a few changes from June till now. I believe it should be in your copy, but I'll just talk about those quickly just based on the comments from our last meeting. I know there's a big concern of kind of balancing if we're subdividing a farm, that we don't want to put them through too much, but also balancing that with some of what you've seen going on, kind of why this come up is some people are just like parceling out, a corner of their lot, trying to get between that. So I found some language from another law I put in the definition for subdivision, kind of wondering your thoughts on that, but basically keeps the beginning definition saying, dividing it into 2 or more lots, but that includes the transfer of agricultural parcels of at least 10 acres for the purpose of continued agriculture shall not be included within this definition nor subject to these regulations. And I thought that, happy to hear your thoughts, but I thought that was a good balance between, at least 10 acres, continued agriculture. It's just going to be farming, but maybe it won't include people who are just sectioning off little parts, because that will still get those people in here. So, I'm interested if you guys think that kind of helps some of your concerns. The only other additions I did add in a separate thing between major subdivision and minor. Major will be subdivisions of 5 lots or more. Minor is anything less. And there's really not a big difference. And I think we kind of talked about it in June. I just don't know if it was like laid out in there really well. But basically the only difference is if you have a minor subdivision, you can get preliminary and final approval on the same day. So that will also kind of help with that. I know they're worried about they're gonna have to come to a bunch of meetings and stuff. Of course, if you guys have recommendations, they'd have to come in, but this would allow someone with, a more basic subdivision, as you would think, to come in, apply, be able to show their preliminary plat and have you guys say, we don't really need anything more than this looks good, have their final subdivision. Whereas like a major subdivision of 5 or more lots, which is, you know, gonna be a much bigger project, they'd have to go through again. Then we just added in this other definition for prior subdivision that basically says if someone's like subdividing like has a minor subdivision, like coming in for one lot, but over a period of time, and you're like, well, you're kind of trying to get out of that major subdivision thing because altogether it equals 5. It basically just kind of stops that from happening. It says if you have a bunch of minors in a short amount of time that equals a major, like you're just gonna have to go through the major process. And again, those processes aren't that different other than it helps the minor subdivisions, but just, you know, making sure that people are those were the only changes from June. Hoping that they kind of help with some of your guys' feedback, but now that you guys have read it, I don't know if you want to just go comments or if you want to go through it again or leave it up to what you guys think would be the most beneficial.
Any
Good,
comments?
it's written.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back, I think it's fine, it's still cumbersome, and I understand what we're trying to accomplish it. I guess it ties in, my question is more on, we have this, my understanding is now, let's say the permit something. Who does the building codes for that? As far as.
Well, they'd have to go in for multiple permit. I mean, you could, yeah, you would approve that they could do a major subdivision of 5 lots, but they
Yeah.
would still need, you know, site plan
Site plan
approval,
and all
building
that.
permits. Like if they're building on these lots, they would still need all of those types of permits.
And I guess that's my question is, do we have those already in place at the next level? So we give them blessing to divide it up into 20 parcels. If so, what? Oh, this. There's certain ones that we use New York State. And us in the room, I've been approached and I'm looking in a green book and being told that this is no longer applicable. I don't know if it's the whole green book, if it's all New York State, or we just.
Yeah, so just jumping on, you know, basically kind of reiterating that. So Barry has a zoning code. Yeah, so you guys are very familiar with that. It'll tell you what you can build in the zoning district, your site plan, your setback. New York State has a uniform code that's with construction and building, and yeah, Barry has to meet that, and we just passed that, I want to say 2022. I know we very recently in the last couple of years made sure that we were up to par with what the Department of State sent. So those are kind of the 2 codes people would have to follow. The uniform code is more into the building permits, certificate of occupancy, certificate of compliance, all those things that they'd be working with the code enforcement with. They'd be, you know, going to the board that goes with that. Just if you're building on any property, whether it's subdivided or not.
Can I answer your questions, Steve?
So we're overlaying because we did not have anything that addressed. I just want to make sure we didn't have anything that addressed the subdivision.
Correct.
New York State does.
New
Once
York-
we get the blessing to allow
Yes, New York State advises doing subdivision, having a subdivision law. Basically puts in, okay, I understand. So for subdivision, New York State has technical guidance on what to put in your law if you're going to subdivide. And this is just so that part is more uniform. It's basically, I know it's cumbersome, but it's basically to make sure all the seeker is the same. You know, some of the approvals are the same. And it's also just kind of doing some time frames that the state thought was important to just make sure things are moving along, basically. Not that any of you would hold anything up, but it's just the state, like, you know, if you don't answer in this amount of time, it seeks a approval. It's just kind of their way to get things moving along in the process. So yeah, a lot of the sections are just what the state advises, and, you know, worst case that I doubt will happen, but you know, as your lawyer, someone brings a subdivision application, it doesn't go through. If you have something that differs from what the state says, they're gonna bring that up, and that wouldn't look very good on the town. So it's just in our best interest, if we're gonna have a subdivision law, to just follow what the state advises to have in there, making sure we're following those procedures. Because most of it is just procedure. It's like how you know, filling in the application, doing the seeker, having a public hearing to make sure it's fair. It's not so much the criteria you're kind of judging against. It's just like the procedure that the applicant.
Does our criteria supersede their criteria? Is there, I mean, can we be more liberal, or can you only be more punitive? Or how we want to put it.
Usually you'd be asking for more things, not less.
I was just asking, well, I was just trying to get a feel for what you're. Oh, I know.
Most of the
Nice try.
most of the things they're looking for are things that you would kind of be submitting with a seeker application anyway.
But is the state one an actual law, or is that just a guideline?
It's a guideline. It's kind of, yeah, it's not, they're not making towns do it, but they're saying if you're gonna go through this process, then we would like to see this.
So if you, let me get this straight, so the state does not have a law per se, and if we didn't, then there would be nothing?
Correct. Currently, there's no subdividing guidance.
So if our law was more lenient than the state, why would that be? That better than nothing? According to some people.
Right, that would be the thing, would be possible liability, but it's all a conversation. If there's a part in here that you guys don't like, you know, that's why we can talk about it and kind of see our thoughts on that.
But where I was going, I get that, but then if, let's say we have a partner we don't like. To your point, then they go back and they go to the state, saying, look at these guys over here. They're more punitive to us than you guys are.
That won't really be a problem. Because no, states take a lot of deference to municipalities, especially if you're stricter and wanting more things. They're gonna go with you. They wouldn't go on the
I
opposite.
don't mean stricter because most of the towns that, like Genesee County says, they removed things because they thought it was too punitive at the state level. Is what they said. So they were actually taking, that's why I'm going full circle here. They were actually saying that the guidelines, for instance, our single barn on there, that's a state recommendation. You gotta have a house before you have a barn. Genesee County, when I played ball, I said no, and he was like, we purposely made our law that you could have a barn without a house because the state's guidelines say you need a house first. So in that case, I'm saying they're more lenient, right? Than what the state's recommending. Yeah, that's right. So I just want to be clear because I don't answer the questions. I say go talk to some like, but I want to know. I mean, it helps us because we look there like,
We have a law, they only have a guideline, the law stands.
that's what Genesee County would say. I'm just asking the question because it seems like here the default's going to be back to the state. That's what it sounds like. if the state's guidance is more lenient than ours, I guess that's the other way to say it.
I don't think it is, though. I
Okay.
think that's kind of the question is a lot of the procedural stuff is just what the state wants, like seeker, but that's just seeker. That's not like
Yeah.
additional to subdivision. That's like if you're going through seeker, that's what has to happen. It's just included in here, to make it easy for you. See, I don't think anything in here stricter. I mean, honestly, I would
No, I'm not
say
trying to say
we're lenient when we're adding in, you know, if you're doing agricultural parcels, then you don't need to do this, the minor, major. So I think this falls a little more lenient, but of course, I'm not, you know, stuck on this exact
Yeah.
law. I think that's why it's open to conversations if there's like specific comments about parts of it. We just thought, you know, we looked at the guidance from the state as kind of a baseline just to make sure, you know, we're doing everything in accordance with what case law wants to see and other things. But I also looked at a ton of other towns, local laws. So it, you know, copied and pasted from a bunch of different areas that we thought would be best here. But you guys are the, you know, are the ones who would be recommending or not recommending. So if there's a spot we want to change, then we should definitely get into that.
I'm just asking more the spirit behind this all. Where, because we looked at this, we better off, as my point is, if the state's guiding us and we're making our own subdivision laws, better off just adopting the states. I'm just saying from our fiduciary responsibility, how we allocate our resources, unless there's something that totally, I'm just trying to figure out who's in charge. Sounds like we're still in charge, which is fine, then we can do what we want. And this is just their guidance. When that was conflicting then before, where the state is the final, we could be more restricted, but not less restricted. That was how I was taking the first.
But we are following state guidance. But the, I guess, ruling that you have is from another case that already happened, right? Is that where you pulled that from? So they're not making that up
No, no.
to suit our needs, that there's already been a case pulled to the state regarding this, and that is the outcome of another town's ruling. That's the way I understood it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I didn't either. Hey, do you have internet? Do you have internet?
Yeah.
It kicked me out just a few minutes ago. So.
You had to go under guest, but I got it.
So what I said before is all true. It is a guidance. You can be stricter, and it lets leniency in some ways of what you're considering, what doesn't include a subdivision. But there is a law, New York Town Law 276, which provides the procedure. And so that procedure is, so essentially, you know, I was talking about those timeframes. If you don't approve it, and we just kept those same timeframes in here just to make sure we're following the law, but say, you know, you didn't follow the timeline, an applicant said it was approved, you said it wasn't, they took you to court, they would say that, well, under New York Town Law 276, that it should have been approved. So I guess maybe I was getting confusing everyone, but the procedure part is from the state. It can be stricter than that, there can be more steps, but the seeker and the approval process is from the state. Some of the other parts, we can, definitions, criteria, we can make ourselves, but they do also have a technical guidance that goes with this, that's kind of the guidance I was referring to, just to make sure we're kind of on the same page with the state while including other local laws. We don't have to copy and paste this, but there is a New York Town Law 276(8). But as far as the state being in control, it's not like if you deny a subdivision, they would go to the state. If you denied a subdivision, they would sue you potentially. So then it goes into courts. So I'm sorry if that was confusing
That's
before. It is technical guidance, but there is a New York Town Law that does have some of this procedure in place that we just kept, so it was all the same. So we're following those procedure times.
Or
I have no all.
Fine.
okay. Then let's give everybody a chance to, since we haven't discussed this in a few months. Give you another month to review closely.
I'd like to change the sheet that.
Great. There comments while we're here, changes you'd like to see. I also, we did talk about last time doing the application form. I did draft that as well. I've seen that, so
Yeah.
hopefully that can also help.
Okay, so we'll put this on the list, so goes out for discussion next month and okay, very good, thank you.
And do you want me at the next meeting if there's more discussion, or?
I don't think so. Yeah, you're fine.
If anyone, while you're going through more, has any questions, or feel free to reach out. And if it was confusing between the technical
Okay.
guidance, I'm happy to also send you the documents so you can look at that.
Maybe we'll leave it like this, in case when everybody is reviewing it, if there is more that can't be answered in email and just needs to be discussed, then we may call you back. Leave it open for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Comprehensive plan review.
It's the one that Sean Fogue sent, right?
Yes. And John, I believe you were gonna bring some
I have,
information to
draft
discuss with us.
they've already put a whole bunch of changes.
Since that?
That's it.
Okay.
Money's
Yeah. Are there any things on that you have been on that committee?
Yeah, the committee's been going on since late beginning of the winter.
Right.
Before Christmas. Start coming up here in. Well, this last draft here. Updates.
changes and corrections and grammar type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Any big changes that people were debating, any things of discussion?
So the only one that stands out. Otherwise, it's all well done, very neutral, biasing. But when they get into, there was one that got into green energy, wind, solar, and battery. There were some people that wanted a reference to the survey. The survey showed that wasn't a majority of people that were for wanted specific language in there to show that it's anti-town, call it that, not majority. And she just put anything like that in. She kept it in there because we have laws on the books for wind, solar, and battery. I think we did pass the battery. And so it's just comprehensive plan is that that the town is open to those things. And left it like that. Basically, it's up to the town board to look at the survey. Shows that not a majority of people are for these. To promote a change in the law, more line that if they choose to.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that needed to put in comprehensive plan. So nowhere in the comprehensive plan does it make any reference to any statistic that was in the survey. So basically, putting the water, putting the gas where we can. Solar, battery. We have laws based on the limitations of the laws that we have. And the business district was more clearly defined as far as going down the road of me. Wasn't clear exactly where it stopped. But road intersection, that was defined better. Probably a few other things. As far as park, the future would be all in the of course, farm clearly speculated in there.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy.
Well, did they address that specifically? Because that was part of the big grant stuff. You know, I mean, that was the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Do
think
you
they're
remember?
I don't think they're getting. They got one grant, but I don't think she applied to the Department of Agriculture one, because that required to come up with an actual farmland protection plan. And none of that has happened.
That's too big. Whatever.
Yeah.
So what's the next steps? I mean, this is the board's driven, right? I mean, this is the town board
It's
issue.
supposed to, that was good. We did spend last meeting some time planning out the logistics, the next steps. And it looks, if I get this correct.
That's in the, I saw it in there. It's one of the last pages of it.
Yeah, but it's been changed. Because it was but it goes something like this. Once the committee has finalized the draft and it's changes, it goes to the planning there. Because the planning board commission, we made the recommendation board that they use an outside person and set up this committee. So first people to get to look at it. It needs to go to the county for their review. To give comment before it goes to the town board. For their review and changes and approval. But somewhere in there, there's public.
I'm not sure if that would be after, because it is the town boards. If it would come after their or their.
It wouldn't be, it would have to be before the town board it gives approval. But whether or not it's after the planning board sees it, then they have, because they were talk about having two of those together. Planning board reviewing it and having a public, have it part of the public, a public.
Okay.
People, the town people. But it would be, public review would be similar to what she did, from the survey. Results of the survey.
So how do we have a public hearing on this or public review on it when they'd have to go through this to even see what is being done or see a copy of it?
It'd have to be put on the website or come to the public, see it.
But at that point, it's a lot to look through at a public hearing.
Yeah. Package. Lots of nice maps. Yeah, you can tell it's very polished. She's done this many times. Actually, she was involved with the one that was done, the last one that was done with Albion Barry. She calls. This is the one before the one we did. Yeah, she goes way back. Uh, 2000. Where they have a public hearing. So anyways,
Yeah,
they were hashing that all out and exactly what the procedure is. Sean was there at the last meeting, so he's quite aware of it all, the procedural thing. But to give you a somewhat of a sense, I outline, but I don't it's something like that. You know, there's something in the middle there where there's a public meeting. Just a comment. The town board makes it final.
So you think you guys will finalize it in the next meeting?
Yeah,
And then you'll have a public something like.
she wants to wrap this up here. And there's no reason why I can't. It's done. It's good to be. I don't get into the nitty-gritty details. And Sean was there at the last meeting. And he was going into the wording and how this is worded and how
so what we have here from Sean, that would be what the finalization of everything at this point. Okay, more so than what that paper is.
yeah, because she's already put out a next draft,
Okay,
supersedes that.
okay.
I haven't read it. I know I was here when she was putting all the changes. Oh, any big one, except for that one about taking out any references to the survey.
And that makes sense. That makes sense.
Because if you're gonna start making a reference there, then you should make a reference to every one of the issues
Right.
within the plan. Why should we single out the energy one? That was the logic behind it. If we're gonna put something in there from the survey that has to do with that, and we're gonna have to put whatever, because there was some comments about the park in the survey that was like, how many people use the park? 2 people, they use it the whole town. Let's say they use it all the time. I mean, it doesn't really bode well as why we even have a park when nobody uses it. But yet we still keep putting money into it, and playgrounds now. Nobody seems to be balking at that, I mean, it seems like a good use of town money, but there's nothing in the survey that supports that we should do. Other than small select people who are most likely benefits. on the survey. Very few people start. So anyway, that was some of the language. You left all that stuff, has to do with survey out of the comments.
So, well, just have a text here that told me here. Oh, I didn't get August 5th. I have August 1st is all I have here. But as far as the schedule, refer draft plan to town planning board, other town boards and staff. Schedule and publicize CPC public hearing. Make draft plan available for public review. Forward draft plan to town board for adoption. Schedule town board public hearing for comprehensive plan update. Publish a legal notice for the update in the newspaper and on the town website. Then you send the referral to Orleans County Planning Board.
So it goes to the town board first. It was going.
Yep.
Fourth, and then should go to the county before the town board should. See it. It's town
This is,
first.
this is, these are the action steps and responsibilities, so.
They were- said they were hashing it out.
So capital adapted, and update to the planning, Orleans County Planning Board. So yeah, so yeah, there's
So I
7
think
steps.
The first thing we hired Barbara. Right person to get. She stands her ground. She says it's the way it should be done.
Still wondering if he came up with the extra $25,000. Jesus, man.
Did a better job. I mean, not diminishing what we did on the last one, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty polished.
Years.
Yeah, as opposed to years.
Yes, but we were trying to save the town money.
Yeah, good.
And I think we did a good job with it.
As long as you don't count our hours.
Yeah,
That's just it. Yeah.
well, we got double or nothing on the pay, so it doesn't matter. That's good. Yeah. Got it. How did you get so much training?
I don't remember doing extra.
Any of it, huh?
But I must have done an extra last year. Didn't I? I still gotta do the, and I took, the last two I did was an online.
Yeah, the online thing I did last month wasn't informative at all.
And come to find out, I got it for free, because they give you a veterans discount. So it didn't
Nice.
cost the town any.
Very good.
Sent in proof. I still have now there's two things there's a harassment one and a
Workplace violence.
workplace violence. They together or separate? Another one coming up? Imagine, well, you'll let us know.
The one online, it was like 35 minutes.
Yeah,
They didn't
I
even
did
do
the
an
last
hour
one.
on it. Yeah.
it was all together, but I guess there's just separate. Over and over and over.
Yeah.
Times. They get updated.
Well, if you don't do your training, they can't remove you. You just don't get reappointed. So there's a method to my madness.
Great.
If you want to make sure you.
I mean, the fact that Sean said that it was highlighted, I was like, it's speaking to. Oh, I already work in New York State, so they're required. Yeah, the rest are just guidance. That's the word of the night. They're just guidance.
Training right now.
Well, how many times do you learn something in here that you didn't know? More so than those.
I'm even more confused than I came.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
Do your, do your forms, get it done. Do you want to say anything? If we own? Or no?
Question on, is our maps updated on Maple Street? And the new comprehensive plan? To have the business district run down
Yeah.
a half a mile, quarter mile.
Yeah, they-
whatever
they-
it is,
more
three-quarters of
clearly.
a mile.
More than clearly define those exactly where they are. Especially going south here.
Maybe we changed that when we actually made that recommendation. I mean, we talked about going to where the three phase ends, but did we actually do that?
It was all part of the,
I think so.
Yeah.
We discussed that.
That belongs to Toby's.
No, it is map.
That's
That's what we're, yeah, that's what we were looking at, that one.
You got the old cold, the big cold storage. Cold. That's
There's
where the three
nothing-
phase stuff.
Yeah,
But that's past the house.
right, it's past the houses along there, just before Charlie Person's old house. So that is good for business. Okay. Okay,
yeah.
So I got a question. I assume this is Jared in the back. Would you mind giving us a spiel about where you're at? I mean, is your training done and are you on and so forth? So then how many hours a week are you gonna work in Barry? So is there an actually a certification that you received that says?
Yeah, once it's fully done, I'll have a certification. I'm certified in this state, ready to be inside, but they don't, if you're doing the whole process procedure. They don't have you submit to the BSI, otherwise it's. Once I'm fully done, I'll have. Sure. How you found it so far? Thankless? Educational, inspirational, or?
Yeah.
It's still working. Plans to get for issued and so. Well, I also. Show everything that comes in. I review it, he reviews it. Still working. Old business, probably easier to call it, but anything new.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, what about Will County?
Second.
I
Aye.
That? Yes.